Hello and welcome to Questions with Mike. I'm your host, Mike. On today's episode, I'm going to answer the question, if people around you are partnering with the violent and aggressive spirits that are common when playing video games, how do you bring the atmosphere or your friends back to God's heart for competition? Interesting question. And I'm going to do my best to answer this. Here's the variable and the problem in this question is you can't make anybody's hearts do anything, right? So I can't actually give you some kind of magic tool or formula to change other people's hearts. I'm not saying you can't change them. I'm saying love does that. So, it's not like their hearts are off limits. It's not up to you, okay? So I'm happy to answer this. As far as our involvement is concerned, just understand the outcome of this is not actually up to us. So I'm not going to give you a formula that's going to make your friends do anything. I did an episode on my podcast about games called, I believe it's called Play, and they talk about the whole spirit of competition / dominance or whatever. So obviously no one wants to be dominated. That's not fun. It feels gross. It feels violating. It actually makes me very angry when people try to do that. To me especially, but if I see them trying to do it to other people, I'm like, and it's evil. Like the Lord does not ever express himself in dominating another person. That's not appropriate. So if at any point any of us ever embrace that over another human being, we are violating the nature of the Lord, and we're violating the nature of love. It's not appropriate, not okay, ever. I'm not saying competition is not okay, because competition and dominance are not the same thing. The will to win and the desire to want to overcome is beautiful and right and good, and is the nature of the Lord expressing himself through us. That's awesome. But if your idea of competition means you have to beat somebody else out, or subdue them, or dominate them, then you don't understand the nature of that drive. It's not supposed to coerce or subdue other people. It's supposed to compel you to bring everything you have to the table and cast your lot and trust that whatever happens, you gave what you had, that you brought your portion, right? And that you're not supposed to try and control the score, just like we're not supposed to do that in life. We're supposed to bring our yes and fully show up. And then whatever happens, we gave it what we had. That's what's asked of us, okay? So when we compete, we're not competing against anybody else. We're not trying to overcome or oppress others. I get in a score in a game, that's obviously part of the deal, but you can actually violate your own nature and the nature of the Lord by making it about that score than making it about what you're bringing to the table. I'm not saying scores don't matter. I'm saying a score is supposed to be reflective of what we've contributed. And if someone wants to violate the nature of the thing and they can get a better score because of it, that's their deal. We're not supposed to compromise ourselves and take the score as the main goal and violate ourselves in the process. Who and what we are and how we're doing things is more important than what that scoreboard says. I'm not saying the score doesn't matter. I'm saying it's secondary to the spirit that we're of. All right? So when we're playing video games and people are tapping into this kill spirit that I want to say because that's funny. It's not funny, but a murderous thing that wants to end or hurt or harm or overpower someone, it's not awesome. How do we engage there? We can't necessarily change their hearts. It's not really up to us. What we can do, though, is oppose that thing. We can not participate in it. It might actually look like you end up having to actually step out of the game. At the end of the day, I think ultimately the solution is going to come from you have to have a relationship with these people. I don't know that you're going to be able to help somebody not embrace dominance if you don't have a relationship, if there's not actually a connection there and there's not a mutual respect. If they're not inviting you to influence their relationship with that thing, I'm not sure how much you can actually do about it. I'm not sure how much you're allowed to, right? But if there's, if you're doing this with friends and they just turn into a monster because they're just using everything they have to try and thwart you so they can win and it starts to feel violating and oppressive, then it's probably a good idea for you to potentially end the game or survive it and then have a chat afterward. But you want to invite this person into a conversation where you get to reason together, kind of like how the Lord does this with us. We want to be able to have a conversation and discuss what happened. What if this was awesome? What if this was not? And can we both agree that this wasn't awesome? Can you see that, or do you not even know that I'm being harmed right now? Do you not care that I'm being harmed, right? We want to have that conversation, and from that place, we get to work out together what feels like winning for us. How do we actually move forward in the goal of us having fun and playing together and letting there be friendly competition without there being a violation of love, without people being oppressed or dominated or whatever, because that's not appropriate. And so from that place, we get to recognize, here's where I went wrong. Here's where I didn't connect. Here's what I'm doing that's actually not awesome for other people. And so the other person's going to have to be willing to see that, to be self-aware, to receive correction, to embrace a posture of humility. And again, even if you're competing in a sport even let's say like I've got some friends who do jujitsu. Like I get like let's say even in that you're supposed to like subdue the person, right? I get that. How you subdue them in jujitsu or karate or whatever, even martial arts or like MMA, like, in that, if it's coming from this like violent, vindictive, oppressive, overpowering thing, that's not awesome. If it's coming out of what I have and what I know and what I'm able to do in this craft, can put you in a position where you can't move forward. I'm not trying to harm or oppress you. I'm actually demonstrating my skill. That's a very different motive, and it's coming from that place. Even that can be done in a righteous way. You know what I mean? It's all about the spirit behind it. Where are we coming from with this? So at the end of the day, you can't change how someone else comes to the table in competition or in playing games, but you can address their awareness and willingness to step into something that's better and fuller than the nasty stuff. And so I would encourage conversations, which, you know, will obviously further the relationship, but also require you to have to be vulnerable and step into a place where you guys can actually collaborate and work together. And we want that. So I don't know if there's something you can do in the midst of the game that's going to change what they're doing. There is when you're led by the Spirit, but it's not going to be a formulaic thing. It's going to be you simply responding to how the Lord is responding. And you might need to bring correction in the midst of, like, maybe you're playing a video game, and maybe that person isn't physically with you in the room. Maybe it's an online thing, right, which I hear kids do these days. You're, like, chatting, right, and, I don't know, whatever you're doing in your command center. There's a whole culture developing there that I'm, like, not a part of at this point. I'm like, what is going on? And I don't have a lack of appreciation for it. I just don't have time to invest in the video game world. But anyway, from that place, if let's say they're not with you physically in the room, but you guys are connecting through your whatever, as you're like engaging with each other, you want to be mindful, how are you responding? What's motivating you in reacting to what so if they're bringing you violence or oppression, like a dominance thing, how are you responding to that? Are you like fighting back? Are you punishing them? Are you accusing them? Are you like shutting down? Because none of those things are appropriate responses to that. Can you bring love to meet them there? Are you able to let yourself be an offering of humility and vulnerability, an expression of love to that place? I'm just realizing, like, I'm a dude talking about video games and I'm saying be vulnerable and love. Like, what are we talking about? But I'm serious. That's all true. Like, this is not void or an exception. Like, even in that arena, you are meant to follow the Holy Spirit as you are capping people in the head. Like, what? What am I talking about? This is crazy. We follow the Lord in that place. And from there, you get to demonstrate His nature in whatever form or expression or medium that shows up in. And you'll have wisdom to know how to respond if you're actually submitted to the Lord. If you rise up in retaliation to react to the spirit that someone else is of that's not awesome, I'm not sure what you're going to give them is going to be better. If the Lord moves you to respond, then what you give to them will have grace. And they, again, don't have to receive that. They don't have to say yes. But it gives them a chance to actually grab onto something else that might divert it. I hope that helps. Let me know if you have a follow-up to that, but we'd love to also know your comments below. You have any questions or like thoughts on this? Because this is such an interesting, especially the gaming world. Like, that's probably an interesting arena that this conversation like bleeds into. If you guys would like this video, that'd be super helpful. If you want to subscribe to the channel, we'd love for you to be connected to the other things that we're putting out there and the series and the seasons and all that. But if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer in this series, would you please send an email to contact@mikemayashiro.com. Just put questions with Mike in the subject line and then send us your questions. We would love to answer your questions, you guys. And we'll see you next time.